You're playing 48 hours after Seth Trimble got hurt and Jarin Stevenson goes down at the beginning of the game. Of course it was going to be a rough start.
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in the world. Thank you for making us your first listener watch to get your Wednesday going the right way. Special shout out to all you everydayers here with us, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our great insiders as well. Joining me on the show today, rather than Thursday, because he's got a big game at home today, is our guy, Coach Bill Robinson, the head coach of the Milligan University Buffaloes and a 2-decade veteran of Carolina Basketball School. That's Carolina Summer Basketball Camp. And by the way, the author of this wonderful book of the same name, Carolina Basketball School History, Stories, and Drills. Coach had a great book signing that, quite frankly, I think was the good luck charm that brought Carolina's victory over Kansas Friday night. So, Coach, I apologize, but every game now you're going to have a book signing before the game starts.
I can work on that. Just have to talk to my boss about that, but I'm sure we can make that happen.
Deal. Same thing. I joked on the show the other day. Maggie, my wife, was at a women's conference on Friday night, and I was like, I think you're going to have to find a women's conference to go to literally every game now. And that's just part of the deal. Anyway, Coach and I are going to be unpacking the win over Radford on Tuesday evening. We're going to start by talking big picture about Seth Trimble and how to overcome that and how to figure out who we are now. Coach is going to have some great insight on that. Then we'll go to our Four Corners recap on the game. We'll each have a couple things for you there. And we'll finalize everything with the shady stat of the game and Rob's records, where we're looking at each of us giving you a stat, a takeaway. So, Coach, biggest takeaway, biggest thing here that I want to start with is kind of both at a big picture level and with the game. Sunday afternoon, Seth Trimble goes down, breaks his left arm, has surgery Monday afternoon, and is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. But honestly, let's call it indefinitely. And 48 hours essentially after that injury, you got to play a game, thankfully, against an opponent ranked 150 at KenPom. Coach Rob, the first big picture thing is, how do you psychologically handle that with your team?
Yeah, mentally, it's really, really hard. Especially it's your leader, it's your senior, it's your heart and soul, really, when it comes down to it. So when you lose somebody like that, you need time. You need time to process that mentally. You need that process. How is that going to affect rotations? How's it going to affect offensively, defensively? Obviously, defensively, he's their best on-ball defender. Did such a great job on Peterson on Friday night. It's going to take a little time to figure that out. And so it's not surprising there was a little slow start tonight. But there's talent there. It's not like there's no talent there. It just means there's other guys going to have to step up now. And obviously Luka's a big part of that, but also, Powell and Young are going to have to step up and get some time. So those guys have to look at it as, hey, here's my shot. Here's my chance. If I play well, I'm going to get some more time. So at the same time, it's devastating. It's brutal. It's also opportunity for some of those young guys.
That's a great point. And so how do you, maybe that's it, before we get to the game itself, that's another mental question I think I didn't even think to ask until right now is, how do you handle that where like with a LUKA BOGAVAC moving into the starting lineup? Probably not with him because he's a professional and it's like been there, done that, next man up. But with like somebody else, like a Derek Dixon, for example, it's like, Derek, I know you're super sad about your senior captain, but you also got to recognize this means you're going to be on the floor more. Like, how do you handle that balance of being sad for your teammate, but recognizing that now I got to step up?
I'm dealing with the exact same thing. And you didn't really know this, but we have a senior, got a 6 concussion, Lincoln Tommy. He's out for his career. He can no longer play. So now we have a freshman that's starting in his spot. And it's a great opportunity, but yet you still see Lincoln's there on the sideline during practice, and you still, I'm sure Seth's going to be as involved as he possibly can. You saw him tonight; he's dressed out with his camo shirt on, and he's obviously still going to be part of it. So, in both those situations, those guys are mature. They understand that their leadership role doesn't end just because they don't play, just because they're not on the floor. So now you have a guy like Seth who can now encourage some of those young guys and maybe even mentor more. Hey, I know I'm still your teammate, but here's something positive, here's something negative, here's something to be able to work on. So you essentially have another assistant coach until he comes back on the floor.
I love that. And then, Coach, I think I assumed this would probably be the case, and of course, it came to fruition this way. Obviously, you don't have much time as a team to practice and figure out, all right, like you can talk about it, you can walk through some stuff, but you just don't have much time to figure out what do we do now. And so I think a lot of Carolina fans assumed like, oh, it's Radford. We'll just run them over and be up by 87 points at halftime. But Radford is, it's not Central Arkansas ranked outside the top 300. This team's 150th at Ken Palm. So there's that component. And like, there's so much to get figured out. So, Coach, could you talk about the quick transition over the course of 48 hours of telling your team the news, helping them process it, and then, all right, boys, we got to get on the floor and figure out new rotations? Was that is that inevitable to you that meant it was going to be a herky-jerky first half?
Yeah, definitely. Radford's good. I mean, let me just go down the roster and you see, major Division I program.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got a bunch of transfers in there. So they've done a great job and they're going to be very good this year in their league for sure. But yeah, you don't want to change too much too quickly. Let's throw Luka in there. Let's try to keep things as normal as possible for today. And then the real changes happen tomorrow. Which is now Wednesday, and now Wednesday, Thursday, you get a chance to maybe the reality starts to set in and you start figuring stuff out, and now you've got to tweak things to be able to adjust to the new situation. So I don't see it being a huge change. I think, you throw Luka in there, you have the guys we've talked about and coming in after him. I still think Jarin Stevenson's the key when it comes to all of this because of his ability to play multiple positions and to do all those little things. So I think in a situation where you have a big time scorer like a Darren Peterson, maybe this is now Stevenson's opportunity. Maybe it's Jonathan Powell. You get to use that length and that size. So somebody else is going to have to step up to be that defensive stopper. I just don't know who it is right now. At the outside, it's just hard for us to tell. But I think that's the biggest thing. You have to find somebody to be that defensive guy.
And then it wasn't helped on Tuesday night, obviously, because Jarin Stevenson, who you just talked about, goes down in a heap, 3 defensive possessions into the game and misses half of the first half. Caleb Wilson ends up picking up 3 first half fouls. And so you're already new look rotation takes a couple unexpected hits in that regard. So, Coach, how does that even further muddy the picture of the rotation?
I think it's great. I honestly do. I think it's great for tonight because now you forced guys to get in there in times where maybe they're a little bit more uncomfortable. The game was not in hand in the first half when they had to take Caleb out with 3 fouls. So now you're forcing some guys to play pressure minutes. These are, in baseball, they talk about those high, anxiety type innings. You had situations where now all of a sudden they have to play some minutes that are meaningful. I think that's a good thing. I think that will help them down the road. Obviously, it wasn't like the game was really in question tonight, but I think it in a long run, getting those guys minutes early in the game in the first half will be beneficial. 3-4 weeks from now.
Coach, you talked about the defensive stopper side of it. Is there a world in which it's like, hey, obviously there is no Seth Trimble, 1-for-1 replacement. Is it more like, obviously you got to maybe try to piece it together? Is there a world in which you as a staff also say, we won't be as strong defensively, although Carolina jumped from 41st in defensive efficiency to 29th in defensive efficiency after this game. But where you say, there might just be more where we have to kind of beat teams offensively a little bit here in the meantime. Like, is that part of the conversation with the staff?
I don't think it is with Hubert because I think they still want to be great defensively. I think maybe it's now more by committee instead of having, hey, we're going to put Seth on anytime Peterson's in the game or Peterson type is in the game. He's going to be on him. Now it may be, maybe Kyan gets a few minutes with him. Maybe Derek gets a few minutes with him. Then all of a sudden bring a fresh, healthy Jaydon Young in the game and just let him go crazy on the kid for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. And then you put some length on him with Jarin. You could really frustrate a player by seeing a different defender on you every time down the floor. That can be just as, especially if it's somebody who's fresh and ready to go.
I love that, Coach. All right, we need to get to our four corners recap, and we're going to start with the big Estonian, HENRI VEESAAR. This dude, Coach, is on one this season early. Want to continue to look about what a great impact he's made, and we got the rest of that and the four corners recap coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Supply House, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. You need parts fast for a project? Great news. Supply House has next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on projects where every single detail matters. They also have the Trademaster Perks program, where it's got things like priority shipping and dedicated support to make the whole process smoother for you. So join that Trademaster program today free and score serious perks like priority shipping, like lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. Again, that's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. It's time to get to our four corners recap, where we recap big takeaways from this game that we think mattered in the picture of it. Coach is going to kick us off talking about the big Estonian.
Yeah, I've been so impressed with HENRI, and not just obviously yesterday, but also on Friday night, getting to see him in person. My first impression seeing him in actually up close and personal was this summer, and he was so bad out of shape and couldn't get up and down the floor. And we kept saying, "There's no way this guy's going to play 30 minutes a game," and I was right. He ended up playing 38 minutes a game against Kansas, and it was fantastic. And he just looked so good, and his efficiency's been great. He's been shooting the ball at a high clip. He's made really good decisions too. I don't think he's taken too many bad shots. He's shown the ability to knock down that three. Obviously, he's shown the ability to go in there and he's not a back to the basket post guy, but he, in the new world of the way the game is played, the screen and roll and then going and throwing lobs and everything else. The one behind his head against Kansas was phenomenal. The place went crazy, but he scored 18 points last night on 7 shots. We got to find a way to get him more shots, and that's part of this new concepts of being able to do just conceptual stuff instead of running sets. If you run sets, you can maybe dictate where shots will come from a little bit easier. And now the way the system is, maybe you just need to look for him a little bit more. But I think he needs to demand it a little bit more. If you're shooting at that such a high percentage, maybe you need to just ask for the ball a little bit more. But I've been super impressed with him so far, and can't wait to see how he continues to prove throughout the year.
Coach, this dude, after going 5 of 7 last night, is now up to 67.9% from the field for the season. He's 3 of 7 from beyond the arc. So I love that he's not taking a ton of them, but it's enough to be the threat of it where guys got to step out and honor it. He had back-to-back dunks on Tuesday night against Radford, the second of which he started with the ball at the top of the key, and he drove 2 dribbles and had a dunk that he probably took off like just inside the free throw line. And so he's just so long and lengthy that it's like, oh, yep, he's off the floor. Oh, and yes, and he's now dunked it, right? And so it's just, I'm with you. I've been so impressed by what he's done on a night where Caleb Wilson, who I think is going to be the leading scorer, has a little bit of struggle. We'll talk about Caleb here in a minute. HENRI just keeps being the picture of consistency, Coach. And that's what, like, if he's going to be able to do that at any level of consistency, man, Carolina is going to be in great shape. I'm right with you on that. Number 2 in the Four Corners recap, I want to talk about LUKA BOGAVAC, who, by the way, was the leading scorer for Carolina in this basketball game. Coach, for the first time, it was not Caleb Wilson, and tonight it was LUKA BOGAVAC. And Coach, This dude starts off 0 of 6 from the floor, 0 of 5 from beyond the arc, and people start saying like, "Ah, man, I guess Luka ain't it." I got like literally was seeing comments like that in real time, coach. And it's like, you guys, the dude has been in America for 2 minutes. He's been eligible to play for 1 minute, and just like give him time. He just got into the starting lineup last night for the first time. He's still getting adjusted to Chapel Hill in America. Give him a break. Please, can we do so? And oh, by the way, because he kept shooting, he wound up for the rest of the game after going 0 of 6, going 7 of 12 from the field the rest of the way, and 3 of 6 from 3 the rest of the way, while dishing out 5 assists and no turnovers and 2 steals. Coach, if your best shooter on your team, your most experienced player, starts a game 0 of 6 and he comes over to the bench, he's like, "Coach, I don't know if I got it tonight." What are you telling him?
Here's the thing, great thing about shooters' mentalities. I guarantee he didn't know. He had no idea he was 0 for 6. He would have no clue. We had a great shooter one year. He was 1 for 13 in a game, and we asked him afterwards, and he had no clue. And if we had to have him like a bucket at the end of the game, we would have ran a play for him, knowing that he had no clue, because that's the way shooters are. They just know the next one's going to go in. They haven't thought about the last ones, and that's Luka. He just knows that next shot's going to go in, and the mentality is different than everybody else. And he's got a different mentality. You can tell he's got that scorer's mentality. He's got that ability just to shut things down and just, okay, and have that ultimate confidence and knowing that sooner or later he's just going to make shots. And he did. And that's what you love about people like Luka.
Coach, what have you seen from him so far in terms of both the scorer and the playmaker? Because this is not the first time, if I'm remembering correctly, to the Central Arkansas game, he also tied for the team lead in assists in that game. What have you seen from the balance of Luka playmaker and Luka scorer?
Yeah, he's still taking too many shots.
Okay.
And that's really, I mean, because of the mentality. And he has little quirks, and the more you get to watch him, the more, like, when he gets it and he puts his head down with a dribble, he's gonna shoot it. You can just tell, and those are tells that the defense are gonna pick up with, and he's gonna have to be able to make some decisions. But the thing about the amount of shots he's taking and the amount of assists he's getting means that he's trying to make plays every time he touches it. That can be a good thing and a bad thing. As long as he's making good decisions, it can be a great thing. You need people that make plays. Playmakers make, they determine the wins and the losses. So he is used to doing that, used to having the ball in his hands, and the more he gets familiar with his teammates and familiar with the system, the better he's going to get.
Coach, the dude has 11 assists and 1 turnover on the season.
Love
That's
it.
insanity, right? An 11-to-1 assist to turnover ratio is crazy. Okay, let's get to the third point in the Four Corners recap, Coach.
Yeah, the third thing for me was just disappointing in when you play somebody who's not a high major team. You expect to take more shots, you expect to have more free throws, you expect to have more rebounds. The rebounds and free throws obviously were big, but the shooting percentages and the fact that Carolina shot less, had less shot attempts than than their opponent. That scares me a little bit to have Radford have that many more shot attempts, but also to hold Carolina under 40% from the field. That's not good, and I think that shows that maybe the jitters, and then just more of maybe the hangover after playing Kansas at home, and everything's just a little bit different. So I would like to see that those numbers go back up here very quickly.
Yeah, gotta learn to respond to both adversity and success well, which Carolina was trying to mix all at the same time with the Kansas win and the Seth news. Yeah, I mean, 14 offensive rebounds for Radford's probably more than you want to allow there. Carolina still beat them, but it was 18-14 in terms of offensive rebounds. So yes, both in terms of the inefficiency and the fewer shots, Coach. Not what you love there. Fourth and finally in the Four Corners recap, Coach. Caleb Wilson's first face-to-face experience with adversity in a basketball game, in an official collegiate regular season game, right? Has been crazy efficient, has dunked everything in sight in the first 2 games, and just didn't quite have it in this one at the same level. Gotten first half foul trouble, was in totality inefficient from the field. But Coach, Caleb's bad night was his first career double-double. When you see all that, what does that say to you?
He was so special on Friday night, and seeing it in person live was just incredible. There's no way he can maintain that. I mean, he was the best player on the floor, and he will be a lot of times this year. But he is also a kid, and that's just part of that the inconsistency. If he did it every night, I still think he's got a chance to be an All American Player of the Year type player. But it is hard to keep that type of intensity up on a day-to-day basis, and to be able to try to do that every night, it's just not reality for a kid his age. So it's still amazing to see what he's done. And again, what's he worried about? He's worried about the win, and that's all he's worried about. So I'm again, it was a maybe an off night, but still to get a double double just shows you how great a player he really is.
And there are a lot of freshmen with his talent and capability might not be as concerned about the W. Caleb Wilson, to me, clearly and obviously is. Coach, did you like Coach Davis putting him back in with 2 fouls in the first half?
Yeah, absolutely. Because in a game like that, they're not going to need him down a stretch. They probably have a pretty good idea minutes wise of how many he's going to play. So yeah, throw him back in there because I mean, reality, he's not going to play the last 10 minutes of the game like that. So let's go ahead and get him his minutes. Let's just play. It's probably not a bad thing for him to at least experience having to play with 2 fouls in the first half, because that may happen again in a game where he really can't get that third foul, and he's going to have to learn how to do that. And to me, it's a trust thing that really comes down to trust, and to see Hubert trust him and put him back in that situation. I think that builds their bond too. That also allows Caleb to trust his head coach.
Man, good stuff. I appreciate that insight so much. All right. That's our Four Corners recap. It's time to keep rolling. We're going to get to Coach Rob's records and the shady stat of the game and a couple other things to wrap up the show, all coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, y'all, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game, or maybe you want to ride the hot hand, great. FanDuel has live bets on everything, from who's going to score next to who's going to get that late fourth quarter comeback, and that's always coming in the NBA. Plus, you can even combine all your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger and better payout. All of that, man, it keeps every game exciting because you got something riding on the action. It's like, oh, what's going to happen? And you're more invested. ACC regular season odds. Duke still leads the way at plus 115, followed by Louisville at plus 220. Then NC State at plus 800, followed by Carolina fourth at plus 1200. Do you think the Tar Heels are going to win that bad boy? There's a good opportunity for you right now. FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, it's time for Coach Rob's records and the shady stat of the game. We'll start with me, and I'm going to assist percentage. This is a stat that I look at pretty regularly year in and year out because I'm always curious how the guys share the basketball and then who's helping each other out by scoring after they share the basketball. Historically, in the HUBERT Davis era, the Tar Heels have not assisted at the same level they did in the Roy Williams era. For example, the last year of Coach Williams' career, Carolina had a 55.3 assist percentage, which was not even all that massive by his standards, but still, it was better than every year of the HUBERT Davis era. Coach Davis's first year, 54%, then 45.3, and each of the past 2 years have been 51.1 and 51.4. This year, Coach, including last night's game, the Tar Heels are assisting on 58.7% of their made baskets. 23 out of 33 against Central Arkansas, 16 out of 34 against Kansas. That's the only game they've been under 50% so far, and even that one was 47. And then last night against Radford, 15 assists on 25 made baskets. You would have loved to have made more baskets, obviously, but you love the fact that of the 25, 15 of them had an assist tied to it.
No, I think there's a couple different factors there. One, the pace of the tempo of the game, and the more opportunities you have in transition, or at least quick opportunities, you're going to see the ball being passed, and you're going to see more assists being made. The other is the points in the paint. I know the points in the paint I guess I remember because I was at the Kansas game, but they had 48 points in the paint on Friday night. That's huge numbers, especially against a big time team like Kansas. So when you're getting the ball and you're getting post touches and you're getting shots quickly in transition, those assist numbers seem to go up, and you got a lot of shot makers now. That's the thing everybody talks about. Well, you got to pass the ball. Somebody's got to make the shot to get that assist. And, I think that's the forgotten thing. But you got a lot of guys making shots, a lot of guys making plays. And, man, I love seeing the alley-oops, a lot of those passes for dunks. Obviously, it's the highest percentage shot, and it's a great percentage, for an assist as well. So just that the way they're playing right now, the athleticism to be able to go get it, I think that's where you see those percentages go up.
Yeah. That said, I wouldn't be shocked if it does go down a little bit with the absence of Seth Trimble because of all those transition opportunities.
Yep.
We'll keep our eyes on that, though. Coach, Rob's records. Let's hear what you got for your kind of statistical takeaway here.
Yeah, the only stat that really cared for me for Tuesday night's game was just the fact that they're 3-0. That's what we want to be. We want to be undefeated. And they're 3-0 right now. And even though the loss of Seth is huge, they have to keep focusing on number 4 and not looking past number 4. And let's just, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But that's really the only stat that matters. Got a chance to coach against Hubert, and it's a JV game. And I understand it's different. But there's coaches that can control what that point differential is. And he's very, very good at that, where once the game kind of gets over 20, 25, put some subs in there, he can actually control the game, come back in and put some guys back in if the game gets under 20. And, he's able to manage a game in a very special way. And I've seen that. I've experienced that. Points differentials don't mean a whole lot to me. I've had games where we were down 3 with a minute left and lost by 10, and I've had games where we were down 25 and lost by 10. So that 10 doesn't really mean a whole lot sometimes. And the game was never in question. I know it wasn't a pretty game. I know it wasn't what everybody expected. But the fact that we're 3-0 is really the only stat that matters right now.
Yeah. And Coach, to your point, this game was a 26-point game with 5 minutes and 17 seconds left. This game was a 23-point game with 4 minutes to go. And at that point, Carolina has completely flipped who's on the floor, and you're just like, it doesn't matter at that point. So just keep all that in mind. That's a good point. 3-0, looking to 4-0. NC Central coming to the Dean Dome on Friday evening. Coach, speaking, we've mentioned a couple times last Friday, you being there at Kansas. This is at Carolina for the Kansas game. Obviously, we talked about your book signing last week. How was it? How'd it go?
Yeah, it was great, and was able to have some really good conversations with people. And people were in there getting their white shirts because it was a late, white out, and there was a bunch of people in there doing that. But I had some really good talks with some people, got a chance to sell some books, and just had a really good time. So I do appreciate everybody who came out and spent some time with me. And the book is still kind of churning a little bit. So it's been kind of cool to see as we get closer to Christmas and start talking more during the middle of the season. It's just a really cool thing to still be part of.
Man, I love that. It's so cool. Yes, guys, if you don't have your copy, again, we are so close to Christmas. It's a great little gift to have for your favorite Tar Heel. And I always like to make the joke, or your favorite Duke fan in your life. I'm sure they would love a copy of it as well. I joke about that, but very seriously, just for people who love the game of basketball, man, this is a great thing too, as you think about what you could be doing at camp, because it's not just all the great Carolina stories. It's great drills that you can use and all sorts of good stuff like that Coach Rob has just poured blood, sweat, and tears into. I don't know if I've got any blood in my copy, but I'm sure there's some on some of your drafts, Coach, out there somewhere. Man, good stuff. So, Coach, any last words of, we talked earlier, now Carolina has a couple days before NC Central comes. NC Central, all due respect to Coach Moten, is just not the team that Radford is. This is a team that's one of the bottom 20 teams in all of college basketball. So a different opportunity to really try stuff. Coach, what's the mentality now over the next couple days of practice?
Yeah, the mentality is just focus on us. They're not really worried about, and there probably won't be a very big scouting report for NC Central, but Coach John McClendon was the coach at NC Central, and he was a friend of mine. He was the first African-American to ever win an integrated national championship. He was part of the secret game between Duke and Central back in the day, and there's a book written about that. And Coach McClendon was a friend of mine. So we actually got a chance when I first got to Milligan to play NC Central because it's McClendon McDougal Gym. It's named after Coach Mack. So I have a little special thing in my heart for NC Central because of Coach McClendon. He's in the Hall of Fame as a contributor and as a coach. A lot of stories about that too. But Coach John McClendon, he was the first African American to be on an Olympic coaching staff too, back in the 70s. So if you don't know about him and the history of basketball, you need to know John McClendon, and NC Central is just part of his journey. But I always have a real tight, big spot in my heart for NC Central.
Man, Coach, thank you for sharing that. I love getting educated, and I appreciate you doing so. That's why we're here. We're here to hang out, talk basketball, entertain, and educate, and you've just done both of those things. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. You guys, it's great to be together. As Coach said, 3-0. That's ultimately what matters in this thing. Carolina probably shooting some free throws this week, but fine, whatever. It doesn't matter. 80 combined free throws, 55 combined fouls in that game on Tuesday night. Guys, big thanks to Coach Rob, as always, for being with us. Very seriously, I know we said it. Go get you a copy of this book if you don't already have it, or make sure it's on your Christmas list. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, do it now so you don't miss a second. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord or Insiders, come hang out with us there. Those links are both in the show notes. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.